You're listening to the AdCast, the podcast for marketers and advertisers, with your host, Eric Elliott.
All right, welcome to this episode of the AdCast, and this is a pretty special one because I have the man himself in the building, Mr. Ken Harrell of the Joye Law Firm, managing partner of the Joye Law Firm.
Good to be here, Eric.
Awesome. It's good to have you. So now let me tell you guys a little bit about Ken Harrell and the Joye Law Firm. This firm has been around for more than 50 years, a great reputation in the marketplace. And for Ken, he's been a managing partner there for quite some time. He joined the Joye Law Firm back in 2006. A little bit earlier, actually. I'm thinking back here. It probably would have been, it was 1994. 94. Man, I got that all wrong. So Ken,
2006 actually may have been when I took over the role as the managing partner.
Awesome.
But yeah, I was at Nelson Mullins, which is a big corporate firm, for my first 5.5, 6 years. Great experience, but man, the day I started doing plaintiff's work was the day the sky got a lot bluer. So wow. I've loved it.
So, I mean, Ken is definitely a great one to know, well-respected in the industry, amongst his peers as well. Like you said, over 30 years, and he actually has helped, those who are injured and represent those who are injured across the state. And Joye Law Firm has locations across South Carolina, right, Ken?
We do. We were a Charleston firm for a long time. Mark's dad, Mark Joye, my law partner, his dad, Reese, started the firm in 1968. And then after Reese died, which is just amazing to me, will be, I don't want to get this wrong, y'all, but it'll be 11 years this July. And after Reese's death is when Mark and I said, you know what, let's see if we can expand this. So we now have Myrtle Beach, Columbia, and the big metropolis of Clinton. So that gives us our upstate location.
Well, Ken, 1968 is when Reese Joye started the firm.
Right. How
do you stay in business and keep those same values from 1968 till now?
Yeah, it's hard work. I think, but the most important value always has to be putting the client's best interest first. And, firms that do that, I think, have a pretty good chance of staying viable and staying successful. If you combine it with some of the things we're going to talk about today, which is not forgetting the idea that, it's a business. Running a law firm is a business. Marketing is a big part of running a successful business. And I've often said to our lawyers, you can be the greatest lawyer in the world. If you don't have clients, if you don't have cases, it's going to be a light that's getting hit under the bushel. So you got to have the clients and you got to have the causes to go out and do good work.
Right. So Ken, now you just talked about law firms being a business. So why are law firms advertising today? Why are they doing it?
Well, every business markets one way or the other, and every law firm markets one way or the other. Traditionally, I think people have thought of the marketing firms as being, the people that have TV ads,
right?
Because that's what is most visible, or at least used to be.
Right.
It's changing, and still it's a big component of how at least personal injury firms, which is what our firm is, how some personal injury firms market. But I think of another personal injury firm here in town that also does very good work, excellent work, and like our firm has had some really big and significant results. And talking with their managing partner at one point, he said, "I bet you our marketing budget is higher than yours, and it's just a different model because to them their marketing budget is what they pay to other lawyers for in the terms of referral fees."
Right.
And so they're just marketing in a different way. But I don't care who you are, there's a cost to getting cases. There's very few lawyers, no matter how good of a lawyer you are, who can just sit back and say, I'm just going to rely on people knowing, how wonderful I am.
Right.
And the cases will just flood in. That would be fantastic.
That's a perfect world.
Yeah, that's a perfect world. If you're a good lawyer, it's a perfect world. But it's just not how it works.
Now, you said earlier, like in a couple just comments ago, you talked about how just marketing has just become different. I mean, I mean, you guys have done it. You've done television, you've done radio, you've done even the phone book in its heyday.
Yeah,
there's
a perfect example of nothing lasts forever.
Yep.
And back when I started practicing, which was the 1980s, for a personal injury firm, those Yellow Pages ads were a big component of your marketing.
They were a staple.
Everybody had, and it just got, bigger and bigger. And, you're trying to get the back cover. You're trying to get the magnet on the front. You're trying to get the binder. And then they started selling the double trucks. So you had the double page ads. And it was the triple trucks. And, and it kept getting more and more expensive. And every year we'd feel like, our Bell Cipher rep was showing up with a gun to our head and saying, okay, write me the check.
Man.
And if you don't do it, you're gonna move down farther into the Yellow Pages. And so we all ended up and paid. And man, when Yellow Pages went extinct, I mean, it was like the dinosaurs. Boom!
Wow!
It was gone, and I think most of us probably paid for a year or two too long, and then realized nobody's using at least the physical Yellow Pages anymore.
Right.
And you'll find there's a few small towns where it still has a little bit of viability. But for the most part, in your urban markets, nobody buys Yellow Pages ads anymore if you're a lawyer. And so, it's always changing. I know you've been monitoring it as well, Eric, given the work that y'all do. But we're watching to see how long TV, or at least broadcast TV, will remain a viable marketing medium, because fewer and fewer people are watching broadcast TV, and a lot of the people that tend to be older, and so generationally, you see a big difference there.
Yeah, the attention is definitely shifting.
Yeah, and it's still, we can look at data, and I know a lot of firms have made the same decision and see where it still works, so it still has some value, but clearly it's not as robust as it was, say, 10 years ago. So that's the one constant in life is change.
That's right.
And it applies to our business and every other business out there, and you just have to adapt.
And that's one of the things now that we wanted to talk about is just like, how different is it? How hard is it? Back then it was like you had to buy one or two different things. Like you said, you could cover that Yellow Page and do something else and you were good. But nowadays it's just like everyone's attention's everywhere. Yeah. They're watching television in more different places than the regular TV set. You know what I mean? Yeah. They're watching it on their phones too as well. So they said, video killed the radio star. It's almost like digital killed the Yellow Pages.
Yeah, exactly.
I agree to that. So let's kind of discuss some of the challenges that any firm would have when they're marketing. What are some of the challenges that you would say, not just at Joye Law Firm, but any other firms, your colleagues, that they've seen in doing any kind of marketing?
Well, it's expensive. So the first challenge is, do you have the money?
Yeah.
And that's where, particularly if you're a sole practitioner or a small firm, and I would say I think it's much more difficult for even good lawyers that are sole practitioners. And again, I'm thinking in the context of personal injury work, which is what I'm most familiar with. Very hard for a sole practitioner to stay afloat in today's market. Yeah. And we've got two excellent lawyers at our firm. One is the head of our Myrtle Beach office. One is one of our top personal injury lawyers in the Charleston office, both of whom had their own firms for 10 plus years, in one case 15 years. Yeah. And they both came to us, they actually both came back about 10 years ago and said, hey, look, is there a place for me at your firm? It's just impossible to keep it going as a sole practitioner when you have so many big marketing firms sort of sucking all the oxygen out of the room. Right. So it is a real challenge. And really it was the death of Yellow Pages. In particular, I'm thinking of my good friend Jeff Girardi, who's an excellent lawyer for us.
Jeff, great guy.
Personal injury work. Yeah, he is, and a great lawyer as well. And Jeff actually started with our firm, worked at the Joye Law Firm for about 6 years, then came to us and said, look, I feel like I want to give it a shot and have my own firm. We were very supportive. We always want our lawyers to do whatever they feel like is going to be in their best interest. So we, gave him some cases to help him get started and continued to refer cases to him for well over 10 years while he had his own firm.
That says a lot about you and him.
Well, yeah, I mean, he was a friend, and we also had a lot of respect for him. But when Yellow Pages died, that's really when he saw his practice start to dry up. And as he said to me, he said, look, he said, Yellow Pages was the one area where, as a small practitioner, I could sort of compete with the big boys. I mean, there's only so much money you could spend on Yellow Pages marketing. Right. And so he could make that decision, okay, that's going to be my big nut to crack from a marketing standpoint every year. I'm going to have a big presence in the Yellow Pages. Mm-hmm. And then when people stopped using it, then suddenly that source of cases, dries up. And as he said, as a sole practitioner, it was kind of hard to look around and think, what's the new source of those cases going to be? Right. And that's when he made the decision, you know what, I think I need to kind of change direction and go back to Joye and we were glad to have him back. So he left on great terms and came back on great terms and has been a real asset. But it's tough if you're the small firm out there. But your first decision has got to be how much money can you afford to spend, and then from there, that's the hard part. Is like, all right, well, I got X amount of money. What's the best way to spend it? And that's where that's the real sauce making. And nobody has that figured out perfectly.
And I wonder, could another wave come? Because first it was the Yellow Page; they kind of went through their extinction, and what's the next thing that's going to go through their extinction? I had a conversation with a personal injury lawyer out of the St. Louis area, and we were talking the same thing. And he said, I just can't compete with the other firms with the multi-million-dollar TV spends. He said, I went to digital or I went to AdWords, when no one else was going there. He said, now they're coming there too. He's
sure.
he's like, I need to just make my exit plan and get out. That's what he said.
Yeah. I can see where a lot of guys feel that way. And but it's the nature of business. And I've got a lot of friends that, when I see them, oh man, I see you on TV all the time. You guys sucking up all the cases, and which I wish we would all love to have a monopoly. But the nature of any business where people have been successful is it's going to be competitive, and at least our line of work, and that's probably true for just about anybody with a legal practice. If you're doing probate work or if you're doing domestic law, whatever, we do not have what I would perceive as a shortage of lawyers. Right. There are some who, at least in South Carolina, would say that we were better off before we had 2 law schools cranking out new lawyers right. every year. And part of the issue you've seen in Charleston is that once people move to Charleston, it's kind of hard to get them to move away.
Yeah, that's
so
right.
You're bringing all these, I say kids, but you bring in these young adults, young men and women who end up going to the Charleston School of Law, and they love living here, and so they want to stick around. And so the number of people doing what we do keeps increasing, and it's competitive. It's definitely competitive.
That's true. But that leads to my next question too. When it becomes competitive, how do you be unique? How do you stand out?
I think at the end of the day, Eric, the key thing, and every firm is different. I mean, there's, when I think of the sort of the firms that I would think of as sort of the big marketers, the 800-pound gorillas, the biggest spenders, which is not us. We have a pretty healthy marketing budget, but I'll use, and again, I'm not in any way maligning these guys, but I think somebody like George Sink, who is the biggest spender in the state, is George's firm, and that's a different model. I mean, they're looking to soak up just it's just volume. They want as many cases as possible, and he's done a good job of making that model work. So who would I be to sit there and take pot shots at that? I think our model at least has been, we're going to hire good people. We're going to train these lawyers up right. We're going to be known as a trial law firm. We're going to do good work. We're going to get great results. And so I think that we can use that to perhaps distinguish ourselves from a lot of the, at least the TV firms,
right?
Because I don't know that would be, in terms of being trial lawyers. If you ask people, particularly judges and the lawyers who defend personal injury cases, I think they'd tell you is that most of the guys you see on TV you don't see in courtrooms, which is okay. Again, it's a different model, but our plan has always been, let's just do great work. Let's try to have a marketing message, and really our message is not, hey, we're the lawyer for everybody.
Right.
Our message has always been, if you've got a serious situation, that's when the decision really matters.
Yeah.
And I often say, look, if you have a sprained neck in a car wreck and 3 weeks later you're fine, it doesn't make a lot of difference who you hire. I mean, at the end of the day, your case just isn't worth that much. Right. So you probably got 100 choices, and if out of those 100, there's not going to be a whole lot of difference in terms of what one lawyer versus another can get for you. Right. But if you've got life-altering injuries, or if, God forbid, you've had a family member who's been killed, then it makes a huge difference
Absolutely.
Who you hire, because one law firm might get 5 times as much as another law firm, depending on the level of sort of experience and I hesitate to say expertise, because there can be some ethical issues there, but just the level of experience that people bring to the table in terms of handling those types of big cases, and so that's when your decision becomes really important. And my goal with marketing has always been to try to somehow come across people and say, look, if you've been hurt and you've been badly hurt, we're trusted professionals. I want that to kind of be the message that's coming across. And now it matters. I mean, you don't want to screw this up, because if you screw up your decision about what lawyer you handle for a catastrophic injuries case, you're probably going to end up screwing your family and yourself, because you're going to need to have somebody that gets every single penny you deserve. But again, it's a different approach for each firm, and which is usually the case. There's different ways to skin the cat.
That's right.
And so what one firm's business model is not going to be the same for another firm's.
Wow. And on that note, Ken, we're going to take a break real quick. So Ken and I are going to take a break. We're going to drink a little bit of water, and we're going to come right back with more of the AdCast.
You don't need a marketing agency. You do deserve very important placement. VIP Marketing and Advertising is a cutting-edge strategic digital, creative, media, and marketing partner that provides services for businesses of all sizes. To stay up to date on the latest marketing news, subscribe for email updates at veryimportantplacement.com.
It's important to plan for your future, but a serious work injury can change your plans forever. If you've been hurt on the job, make a call to the Joye Law Firm, a part of your plans. To move forward after your accident, you need financial and medical support that lasts. Whether you're permanently disabled or until you can go back to work, the Joye Law Firm works to help plan your future for the long haul. We hope you never need our help, but if you've been seriously injured, just call Joye, 888-8888.
All right, so we're back with Attorney Ken Harrell from the Joye Law Firm, and Ken's just giving us just a wealth of information, just some great insight today about marketing for personal injury firms. And one of the things that Ken left off was talking about big cases, and you have to be very careful in who you hire to represent you, or you can end up screwing your family over.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's not just a matter of that one payment. I always tell people you can't come back. So if you have long-term medical needs, or if you're disabled and aren't going to be able to earn a living for the next 25, 30 years, it's not like you can come back 15 years down the road and say, you know what, it wasn't quite enough, I need more. It's only one bite at the apple. So make it the best bite possible.
So now when people are selecting or they're choosing a firm, because we did a marketing CLE class, sometime I think at the beginning of top of 2018, I want to say around that time, and we started saying like some people some consumers or future clients, they're sitting at home and they think the lawyers that are more effective are the ones that they see on television more, right? Yeah. Or they don't know how to research. How should someone research for an attorney? Like you said, it's important for you to get someone who can represent you well,
right?
Because there's no do-overs. How do you do that?
Yeah, I think certainly we should all be better informed consumers just based on the wealth of knowledge that is available through the web. And I do think that's as good a place to start as any. Now, you still have to be careful because as amazing as it is to me, there have still been lawyers who've gotten in trouble, and I'll just call it like it was, basically for lying on their websites about their level of expertise or results that they had obtained. But that doesn't happen often because when it does happen, if another lawyer gets wind of that, you can pretty much bet that somebody's going to be getting a call from the Supreme Court.
That's right.
And that happened.
Coming.
It was a very highly publicized case up in Myrtle Beach where one of the PI groups up there, and I want to give them the benefit of the doubt and say that it just got away from them and that the web marketing company, created all this stuff. But still, at the end of the day, you're responsible.
That's right.
It's on your website. You're the one that's going to get the call from the Supreme Court to say, listen, this is violating the ethics rules, or it's just not true.
Right.
And a good place to start. And so if you were coming to our website, particularly if you had a serious injury case, you're like, what's the first thing I should look at? I tell people to look at results first. Because I can assure you that if a firm has a track record of getting, 7-figure plus type results, that's $1 million plus, whether it's settlements or verdicts, that information is going to be on that law firm's website. I can promise you that. So if you don't see it, that's a pretty good indication that it's because, that firm doesn't have experience handling that type of case.
Right.
And so if you go on our website, and I don't know the number now, Eric, but there's probably $50 million plus verdicts and settlements that have been obtained at some point. Now, understand that doesn't mean that that's what your case is worth.
Right.
And just because you hire the Joye Law Firm, like, oh my God, he just got a $17 million verdict or a $6 million verdict, and yes, that's all true. But every case is unique.
That's right. That's correct.
But if you have a serious case, you do want to know that you've got a law firm that has experience handling that type of case.
Right.
And I think the best way to get that reassurance is saying, have you been there, done that?
Mm-hmm.
Have you gotten big results for people that had really catastrophic injuries? The thing I always tell people, because it's easy to get lost on the number, and I was talking to a reporter up in Myrtle Beach last week about a verdict up there on a sad case. It was a medical malpractice case, and unusual to see large med mal results in South Carolina, but there was a $3.5 million verdict. And as I told the reporter, I said, look, everybody just sort of looks at the big number, but always remember that whenever you see a big number like that, I can assure you, especially in a state as conservative as South Carolina, somebody's life has been absolutely, just horribly altered.
Right. Absolutely.
There is no client that we have ever represented where we got a 7-figure result that I would want to change positions with because I know, how much they've gone through.
Yeah. Or continue to go through, or
and
will
will
always
continue
go through.
to go through. I mean, these are life-altering injuries, and I often say to people when they hear about these big verdicts, I'm like, listen, the same people that vote in South Carolina, the same people that sit on juries. We've got a conservative state, so if we're able to convince what's probably a pretty conservative jury to award that type of money on a case, rest assured that something really terrible happened.
Yeah.
And people need to keep that in mind.
Oh, man.
And I'll, just as an aside, it's one of the reasons why I hate the money ads where you'll see somebody, and typically it may not be, a multi-million-dollar type result, but I'll see somebody talking about, my lawyer got me $200,000, and it looks like
and they're jumping for joy, or doing jumping jacks,
and they're
or
jumping
something
up and down. I'm like, no, that and that is what sends the wrong impression to people in the public, because there's then the perception then to say, well, this is all a joke,
right?
And it's just jackpot justice, and there's too much money getting paid. So I think it hurts all of us who are in this profession those specific types of ads, because I think it just sends the wrong message to the general public. And I would never, I would never allow one of our clients to be in an ad where it's stated how much money they got. I think it's their personal business, not anybody else's.
Absolutely.
But I can assure you that if there was an ad, we've had client testimonials before. I don't want my people looking like their 8-year-old kid on Christmas morning, because I know that the reason they're giving that testimonial is that we helped them for some really dark times.
All right, so that's going to wrap us up today for episode 1 of the AdCast, the podcast for marketers and advertisers. Again, I want to thank my guest, Mr. Ken Harrell from the Joye Law Firm, of joining us today. If you feel this podcast has been helpful for you, like it and share it. And most importantly, we would love to earn your 5-star review anywhere you listen to your podcast. You can log on to veryimportantplacement.com and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, or check out our YouTube channel, which is filled with content, interviews, and so much more creative. This is the AdCast.
Copyright VIP Marketing and Advertising. Produced by Craft Creative.
When all eyes are on you, make it count. From audio to video to graphic design and more, Craft Creative can do it all. We don't make commercials, we craft creative. See what we can do for you at wecraftcreative.com.